This week on the podcast for new all-age comic books, Floundering Fathers, a unicorn of many hats, the anthropomorphic rabbit ninja, Voltron, and many more.
Hey, and welcome to Daddy Mojo. It's the podcast where we'll talk about parenting, all-age comic books, toys, and more. Now, here's your host, Trey Burley.
Thanks for checking out the podcast this week for New Comic Books, the week of March 21st, 2018. This is Trey with Daddy Mojo. Thank you for listening, and I wanted to clarify something because somebody kind of called me out or clarified this on Twitter last week, and I wanted to mention this. On the podcast, we will break down kind of what ages for these 7 to 9 comic books or graphic novels are great for. We'll go kind of in-depth a little bit. If you're just looking at the website over at daddymojo.net, you may not see the breakdown. So you may see some of these comic books and say, well, I know that's not good for a 6-year-old, or I know that, you accusatory crowd. And that's why we break it down here. On the website, it's kind of common sense. Like if you see Venom over there on the website, hey, not for you 6-year-olds, but you 9-year-old kids or you 10-year-old kids, you're going to like it, especially if it's the True Believers series over at Marvel. Wanted to clarify that because someone asked me that on Twitter last week. Thank you. Hey, speaking of which, the elephant in the room says we're on Twitter at Daddy Mojo. Also, that's all the social network handles, if you're over there. And if you would share the podcast or give it a rating, whichever service you're listening to, that sure would be super and genuinely appreciated because there's lots happening this week. And this one is our comic book of the week. We do not have a sounder for this. I'm going to get the minions on that right away. Usagi Yojimbo. This is a new miniseries from everybody's favorite anthropomorphic rabbit ninja. He's a Ronin in Shogun times, and he's sure enough going to show you a fun time if you like great comic books. This is a miniseries. It's the Hidden, number 1. The first issue of this 7-issue miniseries comes out this week from Stan Sakai on Dark Horse Comics. And this is a fabulous comic book because it stretches the creativity of those kids that are going to read it, because it's in black and white, and it's a very detailed story that's presented on a very simple palette. And I do not mean that as a pejorative. I mean it because it's in black and white, and the story and the images are drawn in such a way that they're detailed, but because it's not in color, it looks simpler than some other comic books they may be used to. Like, I'm looking at some of the images now, and if you want to check out some of the images without bending the pages or anything, you can just go to TFAW, do a search for Usagi Yojimbo, and you can see some of these images more than we're showing you now. Beautiful stuff. I'm going to read the description, and it doesn't sound like an all-ages comic book. So that's why let me say this particular miniseries, I'm going to say is cool for ages 9 and up. Here we go. On his way to see Inspector Ishida, Usagi, the title character, Usagi is confronted by shogunate guards. While unraveling a pair of murders in town later, Usagi and Ishida become wary as they find the corpses who are stripped down to their identification, except for the talisman that leads to a startling discovery. I know, you say, corpses, dead. This is not an all-age comic book, you charlatan. But it is. If you look at it in depth, a 9-year-old is going to be okay with the content here. Not all 9-year-olds. Our almost 9-year-old would be okay with it. So there you are. If you want to go without a doubt, you say maybe you have an 11-year-old, have them check it out. If they're looking for something really unique, beautiful, and just slightly left of center, and by left of center in this case, I mean it's not expected or the norm that kids would read, because it's not colorful and it's not normal, but it's so beautiful and so great, and literally I can pick up any issue of Usagi Yojimbo and be entertained, and I think in this case, for this miniseries, 9 and up for some kids, 11 and up for sure, they are going to love it if they like something unique and utterly fun, and it's only $3.99 from Dark Horse Comics, and it's a great place to start off since it's a miniseries. If you don't want to pick up the ongoing comic book for anything, if they do a little mini-series and you're somewhat confident you may like it, like especially since it's a 7-issue mini-series, this could be a good place to kind of step in and get to know the characters if you want to start at 0 at first issue. which some people do, and that's why series get rebooted quite often. And that's cool. It's just the model of the business. It's Usagi Yojimbo, The Hidden miniseries issue 1 from Stan Sakai, out this week. Miss Marvel. This is a fabulous comic book. Do you have a... who would this be good for? Let me think for a second. Let's go with tweens. I'll say upper elementary and older will like Miss Marvel. Issue number 28. It's out this week, and this is the... it's on the tail end of an ongoing story arc, part 4, where, ironically, the title character, Miss Marvel, is missing. There's a great pun in there somewhere. Miss Marvel is missing. It's all but separated by an ing and another s. So in her stead comes Captain Marvel. So do we call this Captain Marvel 28? I don't know. We shouldn't, because it's Miss Marvel's joint. And parents, you see the rated T+ on this rating from Marvel. I wouldn't really give it that rating. I would say 11 and up, unless the T in this case starts for tween, which it does not. But if you have an upper elementary school or older, they're going to like this. Girls especially. Some guys will like it, but it's mainly going to be, and it's weird you have to segregate it like that, but boys may not be that attracted to it because it's a girl superhero, which is kind of a crazy double standards in the world of boy play, but it's the truth. It's a great comic book, though, so kids, especially you boy kids, if you're looking for something neat, check it out. Otherwise, that's the way the axe is going to fall on this one. Great comic book from Marvel Comics, Miss Marvel. So it's the title. It's a flagship. You can't be wrong with it. It's only $3.99 also this week. This is a collection of comic strips that have been previously published, and some people could look at this as the female equivalent to Big Nate. It is Phoebe. Phoebe and Her Unicorn. This is an ongoing series of books. This is book number 7. Now, if you want to go back in the time capsule to book number 6, that was an original graphic novel. So it was a new thing for them. This one, they're going back to the strips. And these strips are awesome. I enjoy this a lot. Our 8-year-old boy kind of enjoys it, but it's that weird thing we spoke about just about 5 minutes ago, where sometimes boys may not embrace a female central character as quickly as girls will embrace a boy central character, even though we're talking about a 4th grade girl who has magic and a unicorn pal and goofy parents. This is fun. It really is cute. As much as I liken Big Nate as the heir apparent to Calvin and Hobbes, this is in there too. But just because of the way it's drawn, it's beautiful, and I'm looking at it now saying I'm distracted and I need to finish this podcast. Again, who's going to like this? I will say... It's very clever. It also reminds me of Doonesbury a little bit. Not in the humor, but in the way that creator Dana Simpson sometimes has some of the way she finishes some of the drawings and the characters, especially in the hair. It kind of reminds me of Doonesbury, just in the way it looks. Gorgeous comic. It really is great stuff. Middle elementary school and up. So the character is a 4th grade girl. So if you have a 3rd or a 4th grader, they will like this. And this is fun. I like this because you can kind of tell the enthusiasm in my voice also. Great graphic novel. Unicorn of Many Hats. That's the title of this latest incarnation of Phoebe and Her Unicorn series. Great series of books, and it retails for just under $10. Buy it through the links, and you can get it for $7.40 approximately. This collection of cartoon strips is for those parents who, when they were kids, really got the Far Side quicker than some parents. This is almost like that, but in a slightly more focused way. It is Floundering Fathers. This is a collection of strips of Pearls Before Swine. And this strip is absurd and hilarious and utterly fabulous. It's going to skew a little bit older, so elementary school kids can read it, and they'll be okay with the content, but they may not get some of the jokes because the jokes are old and a little mature. Not mature as in, we're getting highbrow here, or serious. It's just stuff they won't understand. Like, for example, let me pull this out and read it, and you can judge for yourself. There are 3 characters. There's a pig, mouse, and a emoji that says "You're welcome," and they're all having tea. The emoji that says "You're welcome" says, "Hey, guys, care to donate some cash to my conservation efforts? I'm on the endangered species list." Pig says, "Why is that?" And we have another panel that has 2 kids, two hipsters. "Hey, dude, thanks for passing the ketchup." Hipster number 2 says, "No worries." And in the last panel, you've got "You're welcome" saying, "I was a perfectly good expression." And Mouse is saying, "Can I borrow some cash for him?" Pig says, "No worries." Okay. Horrible radio theater. My gosh. Recast. Funny stuff. So that's an example of the humor that some kids may not like. But parents, you will love this. Teens, you will love this. And even, I'll say you tweens. So if you're in that hard-to-define tween demographic, you will like this. And this is really one of our favorite comic strips out there. Almost beside Mutts. Mutts and Pearls Before Swine take they have a duel every once in a while to see who's the top of the heap. This week it's Pearls Before Swine. Retails for under $15. Buy through the links, just over $10. It's Floundering Fathers from creator Stephen Pastis. This ongoing miniseries from DC Comics has really exceeded our expectations, partially due to the art and also the story. It's Future Quest Presents. This is issue number 8, and we've spoken about this series a couple times when it came out, and it really is spot on great. It's continuously great, and I think possibly when the pressures of being a month, and it may have always been intended to be a miniseries. I don't know. That's one thing I would like to speak with either some folks at DC Comics or the creators behind this to say when Future Quest originally launched, how was it intended to be? Because it's almost like the pressure is off, and they're aware that this has shorter story arcs, so they can kind of let loose and have fun with crazy dinosaurs and superheroes and action and fun stuff that kids love and that I love, without the pressure of we have to keep this monthly title going ad infinitum. Future Quest Presents number 8 is fabulous. You've got an alien threatening to pressure the Earth into joining a galactic empire by force, and the first line of defense is the mighty Mitor. Good. It pulls these characters that are kind of fringe Hanna-Barbera superheroes that are great. Johnny Quest makes an appearance in this one. And it's action for those kids that don't want traditional superhero actions. And in this case, I mean traditional as in played out. As in, I've seen all the other kinds of superheroes. I'm kind of bored by them, and I want something with a bit more of a science fiction angle that I do not know what's going to happen. That's Future Quest Presents, and kids will love it. One miniseries that combines 2 characters that have had great runs in the all-age comic book marketplace, especially in their specific meetup. We have this one that ages it up just a little bit. It's Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. Now, you hear the title and you say, oh, yeah, I saw that mashup last year, and it was great. And it was great. It was one of the best all-age comic books, especially mashups for superheroes that was out last year. This one, though, is slightly more adult, just because of the way it's drawn and the action that's presented. It's not the all-ages compendium that came out last year, but it's out there, and it's going to appeal to upper middle school and older. So that's just because of the action and some of the life and death consequences that happen, because what's going on is Donnie has taken the venom serum, and he is straight up evil. So Bane's in there too, Batman. So you're talking more of an adult Batman, but it's good action stuff that's, again, left of center for those upper middle school and high school kids that want something that is superhero-y, but not generic. Let's skew younger, shall we? Let's go all the way down to 5 years old. Hello! And it's this classic series, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, issue number 64 is out this week. And our 8-year-old, when he was 5 years old, he went through a My Little Pony phase. And it's odd because, I mean, we were getting some of the comics just because we wanted to buy them and get familiar with them and say, okay, here we are. And he latched onto a couple issues, and he still has them in his room. My Little Pony is predominantly one of those series and one of those comic books that's going to hitch their wagon to girls and say, take us home. And this issue is unapologetic in its camp and its fashion and its tongue fully in cheek, because you have Fluttershy. Fluttershy and Rarity go to Manhattan, M-A-N-E, Manhattan, where Rarity is shocked to discover that the ugly fashion is still in style, and Rarity is trying to get creative and bring in some new fashion mojo. See? It's a clever description that's their description. That's not my description. It's a clever description that says, you know what, this is a very cute comic book that's going to hit those 5-year-old kids who maybe want something fun that mom or dad can read to them. It's going to have images and pictures of cuteness and just neat, happy, fun things. Neat, absurd, happy, fun things that they're going to want to see. And maybe for those reluctant readers who could be slightly older but want to read it. And every girl that we know that have been our children's friends has had a My Little Pony phase. Some have lasted longer than others. Like our neighbor, she had a My Little Pony phase that lasted about 1.5 years. Some girls are still in it, and that's cool. And this is a great, and because this is issue number 64, it speaks that this is a comic book that has produced quality to become a flagship, basically, for IDW, where it's very consistent. So jump on the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic train anytime if you have a girl aged 5 and up, and they will enjoy it immensely. Plus, it's a thick comic book for what it is. From IDW Publishing, it's $3.99. For the boys, mainly boys, 80-20 split, boys to girls. Let's skew just a little bit older for the boys to Voltron Legendary Defender Volume 3, Number 1. This is directly from the pages or the screenshots of Netflix and the great show that they have there on Netflix. This is the comic book version, and it runs hand in hand with the animated version of Miraculous. If you've seen Miraculous and you say, you know what, Miraculous, the comic book, and you say, that looks really similar to what I saw on television, that's what you see here with Voltron Legendary Defender. And what I like about Voltron, both the show on Netflix and this comic book, is it's really intelligent. It doesn't dumb down, or it doesn't treat the audience like they're young or unintelligent. It's smart science fiction that's very hero-based. And the only way to kind of describe it further than that is to say, watch a little bit of on Netflix if you have it, or thumb through an issue when you're at the comic book store. And I hate to say thumb through an issue, because then comic book retailers are saying, don't thumb through issues. Please don't. But just look through, gently thumb through the pages, and you'll see how crisp the art is and how smart the team works together in Voltron Legendary Defender. It's going to be great for upper middle school and older, all the way through high school to an extent. I mean, there's high school kids that want to read some comfort reading food. It's going to be cool for them too. Or for those younger upper elementary school kids that want to challenge themselves and read some great science fiction action-based comic books. That's it. And Voltron Legendary Defender Volume 3, Issue 1, it's a mini-series, the third